Hello, I'm Ethan, and in this video I'm going to show you how to solve a Rubik's Cube one-handed. Solving with one hand, or OH, is a nice challenge if you already know how to solve the cube. It looks impressive and you don't need to learn any new algorithms. So let's get started. You can solve the cube with one hand using exactly the same method you use for two-handed solving. The only difference is how you turn the cube, also known as finger tricks. With two hands, you can use one hand to hold the cube while turning with the other. But you have to do both with the same hand when doing OH. Even though you can use a table to hold the cube while doing OH, I'll be teaching you how to solve without using the table, as it forces you to learn all of the finger tricks properly. The best algorithms for OH are 2-gen, which means they only turn two sides, which almost always means the right and the top. So even if you're right-handed like me, it's probably better to use your left hand for OH, since it's easier to do R and U moves with your left hand if you have to hold the cube also. Obviously, you can't do wrist turns like you would for two hands, so you have to use flick turns instead, just like you'd normally use for U moves. So U prime is just the same as normal, but for U, you either have to push the layer backwards or pull it with a reverse flick. Most people prefer the reverse flick, but I mostly use the reverse push instead. And for U2, you can do it the same way you do for two hands, as a double flick. Or you can do this instead, depending on the situation. For R moves, you can do R as a flick with your pinky finger, and R as either a push or a reverse flick. Again, most people use the reverse flick, but I prefer the reverse push. And for R2, you should do a double flick with pinky, then ring. So once you've learned these finger tricks, try practicing them with the 4 algorithms that are on screen now. These are the OH versions of the UA perm, the UB perm, the H perm, and the Z perm. You don't need to learn new algorithms, but I use them because it's difficult to do M moves with one hand, even with the table. If you know other 2-gen versions of these cases already, then you can use those algorithms instead, especially if you don't like doing the UA perm from the back. For algorithms with D moves, such as this G perm, you should do them the same way you would when doing the E perm with two hands, as I showed in the video up there. Do D as a flick with your ring finger, do D prime as a reverse push, and do D2 with either pinky and ring, or ring and middle. So if you can't find an RU algorithm for a certain case, such as for this one, you should try to use RUD algorithms as much as possible. Some algorithms, such as the OH-J perms, use R, U and L moves. You can finger trick these algorithms in the same way as RUD algorithms, but you do a cube rotation first. Rotating this way with one hand is very fast and easy, so you can also use it to solve F2L pairs into the left by turning LU algorithms into RU algorithms. Finally, there are algorithms with F and B moves. You should try to avoid algorithms with these moves as much as possible for OH, but if you need to do these moves, you should cube rotate like this, and do F moves the same way you would do U moves, and B moves the same way as D moves. However, if you specifically need to do F going clockwise, you might want to do this instead, as it doesn't require any regrips. Even though you don't need to learn new algorithms for OH, there are some that you might want to learn to avoid F, B and M moves, especially for PLL. For example, if you would normally do this G perm with an RUF algorithm, you might want to consider doing this RUD algorithm instead. There are also alternative OH versions for both J perms, as well as the 4 algorithms I showed before, and I've covered all of these in my alternative PLLs video, which is up there. So that's it for this video. If you learned something new, please subscribe by clicking the button down here. Thanks for watching.